All right, and here we go. We are live. Now, I'm really excited about today. I'm out in my outdoor office today, and with me is Matt Boyce up in Queensland. Hey, Matt, thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure, and I'm really excited to bring you to this group because we've had a number of little chats over your little lunches and on and offline, and I've really enjoyed them, and I've really enjoyed watching your little journey. So Matt's today going to talk to us about human connection, about mental health, and about how things, I guess, how everyone's coping in this time, and give us a few little pieces of hope. I think is what people are looking for right now. And you're talking to a lot of people, you're listening to a lot of stories, you're seeing what's going on out there. And I guess to start off with, what I'd really love to know is your story and what set you on this path to where you are now. I think everyone would really love to hear that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We're hearing a lot at the moment, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But where my passion came from, and I'm a big believer in passion over purpose. I'm a massive proponent for removing the word find your purpose and more find your passion. So where my passion, I guess, has come from is, for as long as I can remember, I was always the person who was trying to kind of bring people together. So when I was a carpenter, I was trying to bring people together in the smoko shed, learn about them, learn about their problems. Maybe they're fighting with their wife, or their kids are playing up in school, or, they feel like they're not, where they should be. And, the number of issues, I guess, can go on forever. So I did that for a long, long time. I was West Aussie boy, so born and bred in Western Australia. I would consider God's country. I know Queenslanders will tell me Queensland is God's country. But West Australia, by golly, if you haven't been, you should. But anyway, I moved here 10 years ago now to follow the rugby league career. I got here and realised I wasn't as good as I thought I was, like most people. And then I kind of slipped back into being a chippy. So I came over here and I was still being a carpenter. For the first probably year or so, I went from being a carpenter to unloading containers like most footy boys do. You go through a stint of that. And I was walking around with this mask on where I was pretending to be some of this tough footy player, have a few tattoos. And I kind of had this exterior that I had to be stronger than what I was. And I used the word stronger in a different sense. Stronger to me at that particular time in my life was, tough exterior, you can't break me. Where strong to me now is probably the complete opposite. But I was walking around with this mask and I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. Luckily, I went to another builder who happened to be one of the family friends who was a builder over here, and I took my mask off instantly. And it was quite literally like I felt like I removed the mask, and I tell everyone this story. It's one of my favorite. Like I was singing Whitney Houston on the construction site, like just absolutely living the dream, really. And I found that people kind of just connected with me. So when I had the tough exterior, no one wanted to sit around with me. I was kind of a bit on my own and quite lonely. And then as soon as I started just being my authentic self, people kind of gathered around me. And again, the connection started. I started having discussions again about their family, and I was learning about their kids and what their wife does for work. And it was really beautiful. And then tragically, 5 years ago, I lost my best mate, Justin. He went on a surf trip and unfortunately never came home. He died overseas. And that really shook me to my core. So I went from being this really strong, mentally strong dude who was having all these great conversations and helping everyone else with their mental health to being quite broken myself. And for someone who thought I was really connected to my community, to my network, to my friends and family, I found I wasn't as connected as I perhaps thought I was. I'm really fortunate, and I always like to reflect on it. I've had the best upbringing possible. I've got the most loving family ever. So in terms of my upbringing, I had the best possible. And I used to joke, well, not joke, I used to say as a kid, like, you're the best dad of it, ever, like as a lot of kids say. And it was generally, I feel like I had the best parents ever. But when I went through that loss of Justin, I shut everyone out, including my parents, and I was in a really dark space and I was quite suicidal. And it wasn't until a few years later that everyone actually realized how bad I was, because I was so disconnected. I had no human connection. Everyone was trying, but I was like, no. Yeah. So for the last 5 years since Justin passed, I've made it my kind of my life's work and my life's goal to see how many other people's depression is caused by their environment, caused by the lack of or complete absence of human connection. Because, where's my phone? Like these devices here you know, as incredible as they are, they've become a disconnection for us as human beings. So like, you and I have connected via the phone, but we've never sat across from each other and actually learnt about like your husband. Like I've only just learnt that your husband's ripping floors up in your house and doing construction. Like these are the little things like these, I call them incidental human connections that we're really struggling with. Like we've seen it now of coronavirus, like the incidental human connection of just walking down the street and seeing your neighbor and then like, oh, hey, like like I'm dying to high five someone. Like every part of my soul just wants to high five someone.
I know.
Yeah, it's like
I'm a hugger, and I just can't. Yeah, it's a struggle.
It really is. So I guess that's kind of what's got me to where I am today. And now I try to speak to like the best psychologists, best counselors, and people that do NLP. Like I try to take bits from every profession because I don't think you need to be like you should only see a psychologist or you should only see a counselor. You should only see, like, I just want to take from everyone, and we want to be, our aim for the Human Connection Project is to be the world's largest proactive, and I really want to bold and underline proactive human connection and mental health led organization, because as a nation, we have got, I think, and COVID related or not, one of the best sick care facilities in the world. But in terms of our healthcare, it's shocking. Like if you're sick, we'll look after you. But if you're healthy and you just want to make yourself healthier, like you're on your own pretty much. So that's where we play now. And I guess that's a long answer for how I got to where I am today.
No, and it's a great story. And I think, you know, the people that really find that passion and really, really drive that, usually it is out of some form of adversity in that same space. You know, you listen to all the stories, you listen to all the people. It really is. There is something that triggers you to go, that I just can't have that in my life. So how do I help other people? If, you know, if I know what I know, how can I actually bring that to everybody else? And so, I mean, you and I have talked, you know, about my daughter's struggle also with mental health. I mean, she's only 15, and, you know, just the fact that you were saying that it shouldn't just be one person, you know, and I wholeheartedly believe that her journey to wellness has been through about 6 different ways. You know? And just one way through psychologist or psychiatrist was not the answer. It formed part of it, and she still needs that. But it was all the mindset, the nutrition, the naturopath that helped, the school counselor that talks. You know, it was just a community of people that were able to support that. So what are you seeing then out in our world at the moment? What's going on? Like, what's really going on in that space? Yeah,
it's it's a really good question, first of all. But yeah, it's a very interesting time right now. For a long period, it's always been people kind of, and I hate the terminology of stay in your lane, but a lot of people have been staying in their lane. Like psychologists did psychology, you know, as you said, psychiatrists did psychiatrists. But I guess now, and it's been used a lot, but now more than ever, we need that collaboration sense. And collaboration for me isn't finding an Instagram influencer and sending them your product and getting them to post about it. Like collaboration right now is everyone coming together, thought leaders of every single element of mental health coming together and like, okay, cool. Like we've got a really big problem on our hands right now. Like the number of deaths we're going to see, and this is really morbid, but it's a conversation I like to have to show people how bad this is. We're going to see a 400% rise, and this is just my prediction, a 400% rise in suicides off the back of COVID-19. So if we look today, reported suicides is 8 a day. The reality is we're losing around about 12. We're just not reporting on single vehicle accidents and falls and the like. So if we're seeing an increase, that's 48 deaths per day to suicide. Now, the likelihood of Kristy or myself walking down the streets and seeing someone commit suicide right now is very, very low. Thank God. Off the back of coronavirus, people are locked in their houses with their roommates, so they're now going externally for that darkest moment in their life where they take their own life. So the chances of you and I seeing someone take their own life is greatly heightened, and we're going to lose 50 lives a day to suicide. And what we get really, and we're doing it right now of coronavirus, we're looking at numbers, and we've really got to remember that behind these numbers is someone's daughter, someone's dad. Like, these are all humans, but we get so caught up in numbers, and we're seeing the amount of cases that have been updated on coronavirus. We're seeing how many deaths are from coronavirus. And nowhere is it saying like, this was someone's mum who's just passed away from coronavirus. So for God's sake, stay in your house. Like, This is what's going to motivate people to do the right thing. But we just say numbers, and numbers are so easy. Just like, oh yeah, we're losing 8 lives a day to suicide. We hang an Are You OK poster one day a year. We're doing our piece. So what we're seeing is this massive need. And I think $1, and I hope I'm right here, and I probably am going to be wrong because I'm wrong a lot. I think $1 will never be worth what $1 was worth prior to coronavirus. And what I mean by that is, like, the 3 things that we, I guess, hold so much value to prior to coronavirus was money, power, and position. And I think off the back of coronavirus, I hope it's going to be human connection, love in the sense of, like, you love your partner, you love your friends and family, and then freedom, the ability to sit and have a beer with your mate in the pub, or the ability to go out for dinner with your partner for date night. Like, they're the 3 biggest commodities off the back of this. And I guess that's what I'm seeing in today's society is people are starting to shift their perspective. Human Connection Project as a business right now, that we're getting so many phone calls from people being like, hey, we don't know what to do. And it's like, thank you for finally reaching out, because we haven't had human connection for a long, long time. And it's unfortunately taken a pandemic for people to go, yep, we need to do something about this.
It's just huge, isn't it, really? And thank God that you are there, because, if these people are sitting there going, I don't know what to do, and they've got no place to actually go where they feel. I mean, we know that there's a lot of other places that support mental health, right? We know the lifelines and so on, but it's not necessarily those places that are addressing that human connection, right? Yeah. So that being able to stand up and actually bring your group together. And I saw this the other day. So I've got a team of, as you might or might not know, a team of 30 virtual assistants over in the Philippines. Plus I've got someone in India and somebody in South America, right? So every one of them are all in lockdown at the moment. Okay. Now, it's a virtual business, and so they all work from home, so that doesn't affect them from a work perspective. But what it does affect is their ability to connect, and they're all in communities, as Philippines, for example, that really value every Sunday getting together church services with their families, and their families are usually 20 people, right? So they're locked in this little house with maybe 3 of their immediate family, and not being able to get out and spend time and be with their family. And so as a leader, I've had to step up and go, how do I bring them together? How do I make them feel like they're still a part of something that's connected? And that's been a big challenge for me, because when I'm so far away, how do I do that? And luckily I already do that, obviously, because they are all virtual in different parts of the Philippines. But yeah, it's those things that business owners are struggling with at the moment, is how do we bring everyone together when we're not physically able to do so? So what are some of the things that you're seeing that, is really helpful to businesses that might be struggling with that?
Yeah, I think the really important first element to take for a business owner right now is to make sure we are not, we can option to react, or we can option to respond. And react, by the kind of the definition of the word react, is very violent. If someone's rude to you, you react in an aggressive manner. But the word respond shows so much more human cognitive ability. It's that emotional intelligence aspect. So we need to make sure we are responding to what's in front of us right now. We're seeing a lot of really cool things. We're seeing the dress up parties on Zoom, or we're seeing the bring your dog to work day via Zoom. We're seeing all these really great initiatives, and they're fantastic, and I really applaud business owners and businesses and leaders who have put them in place. And I think just before I move on really quickly, is to touch on that leadership element you spoke about earlier. Like, you could be the lowest run in your business right now. You could be, and I say lowest in terms of positioning, not credibility. You could be the janitor for a business right now. But if you're the person that's now stepping up, making sure everyone's coming together, then you are now the leader of that organization. Because we're seeing CEOs now fall fall over when their team needs them most. That would be like a captain in a rugby league team just going, grand final, you guys will sort this out yourself. Like, these people need you more than ever. So what we are trying to do is we've developed, I guess, a framework for human connection, because to say you need to connect to your staff right now and just leave it at that and throw that kind of catchphrase at businesses is really, really hard, and it's not helping them whatsoever. So what we've developed is a framework, and it's built off our 3 pillars, which is empathy, leadership, and empowerment. So there are 3 pillars that we've developed over the years working with experts and our own research to say, doing these 3 things, first and foremost to yourself, so showing empathy, leadership, empowerment to yourself, and then showing it to others, is what's going to, first of all, I guess, develop and then foster human connection. So businesses now need to be doing the empathy model, so showing empathy to your staff. And the difference between sympathy and empathy is now more important than ever. So not sympathizing, saying, this is hard, guys. I understand this is hard. I'm sorry we're going through this. We're going to get through this. Empathy, on the other hand, is going, okay, horrible situation. How can we change our thinking? How can we sit next to each other? How can we hold each other's metaphorical hands? Because we're not physically allowed right now. How can we hold each other's metaphorical hands, figure out a solution, and get through this together? We want the bosses to be sitting next to the staff members right now, figuring this out, making sure everyone's across the board. Leadership, same sort of concept, leading in the sense of looking to your left and right, going, okay, Sally from HR is really struggling right now. How do we make sure we bring her with us? And it's not a fancy dress party on Zoom call. It's actually connecting with her offline, one-on-one with, the boss, like a CEO. Like, if I'm working with a business and the lady at the top of the food chain is the person that calls to me as someone who's down the food chain, I automatically feel so much more connected to that business. Like, okay, Kristy knows I exist. She knows to look out for me. So that's real leadership right now. And then the empowerment model is actually allowing your staff to have a say in what your business is doing right now to change, and not using the word pivot, because from an anatomical position, if you and I are walking down a footpath and we pivot, we change direction and we continue going that way for long. But if we're walking down a footpath and there's a pothole, i.e. coronavirus, we simply change, we step around it, and we continue on our same destination. So a lot of businesses now are pivoting, which pivoting, if we think of it physically, is changing where your direction is and changing your outcome, when really businesses shouldn't be changing what they want to achieve right now. Like, our goal is to stop people killing themselves, and that will never change. We just have to change how we deliver that. So for businesses, that would be my 3 biggest things, is make sure we're on that empathy model. And empathy is a 2-sided coin. Most of us just focus on the negative side of empathy, i.e. when something's really bad, empathizing with that person. But if, again, Sally from HR has come up with a really great idea that's changing how the business is going to move forward, then the positive sign of that empathy coin is everyone coming together and showing positive empathy, celebrating that success, highlighting with public praise, because that's public praise is one of the key ways that we can show empathy to someone, and leadership and empowerment. So doing things like that, leadership in the sense of everyone now has an opportunity to lead, and empowerment, making sure that we are letting our staff have a say and have their voices heard more than ever in the direction the business takes, is kind of the framework.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. And it's really great hearing that, because, going back to my business again, just understanding how we do some of those things and how some other business might relate to that, is that we've got a lot of recognition systems in place for our VAs. We give them bonuses. We do lots of different little things. We have a Facebook page that is for virtual assistants that anybody can join that might be a virtual assistant, even if they're not part of our team, right? But we post lots of recognition up there, and we encourage our VAs to tell us when they've done something great, or some of the VAs will send us photos of their clients, sending them chocolates and roses for their birthday,
awesome.
Right? And we'll throw that up there, and what that does is it makes all the other VAs who aren't getting that from their clients work really, really hard to try to get that same effect, right?
So true.
It does. It creates this sense of we're all in this together. We are all in this fighting. I mean, I looked at my Skype stream this morning, which was just lovely, from all the girls, and there's like 30 messages all going, "Hey everyone, how was your ISO Easter?" And
So
everyone
good.
great photos and pictures of what they were doing, and so you're making a difficult situation for some turn into a positive, and I think that's
Yeah.
how we fight this, right?
Yeah, we really need to hold on to that hope element. And if I can't remember who said it, and hopefully someone can find out. If you watch the news, you're ill-informed, and if you don't, you're uninformed. So we kind of have this option that we now need to go find our information for ourselves. And one thing I'll touch on in terms of that accolades and the bonuses, I think that's so crucial right now, more than ever. But it's also really crucial, if you get into a new relationship, for example, like if I'm in a new relationship with somebody, I need to find out what their love language is. I need to find out, do they like gifts, or do they like physical touch, or do they like words of affirmation? And hiring someone and having staff underneath you is the exact same elements. You need to find out. Some people aren't driven by money, which is great. Some people are driven by, hey, I want to be able to knock off early so I can go teach my kid how to ride the bicycle in the cul-de-sac. So I think now, if you haven't had those conversations with your staff yet, and you definitely should have, but hey, we're all humans and we overlook things quite often. Now is the time to be having those conversations like, hey, Mark from IT, what is it that makes you feel most appreciated by this business? Is it working for bonuses? Is it working, for a 4-day week? If we give you your tasks at the start of the week and we give you that autonomous to just go and do your tasks and you can get it all done in 4 days, is that what makes you feel most valued? So I think now we really need to be having those conversations with not only our staff, but in our community, with your family, like with the kids, doing the dishes and getting pocket money, or do you do the dishes and dad's going to teach you how to ride the bike in the cul-de-sac?
Yeah. It's so true. It is so true. And I've always been a big believer of that. Whenever a staff member joins our team, we give them a survey and we ask them how they like to be rewarded. And, for some it's foot massages, for others it's cash, for others it's buy me a cake and I'll be happy,
Yeah.
And I do love that. I love being able to personalize that, because we do all react differently, and those love languages, if people out there haven't actually read that book, it is a fantastic book to be exploring right now whilst you're in isolation and you have the time. Is it the 7 love languages? I can't remember.
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure.
I'll put
But
it in the
like we all make mistakes too, don't we? Like a lot of people would have not thought about this at all with their entire business, and they might have had a business for 30 years and be like, holy crap, I've never thought about that. And I'll be honest, I've made the mistake many a time. 3 years ago for our Christmas party, I had one recovered alcoholic, and I took us all for a bar for our Christmas party. And it's just like, oh man, that was such an oversight. But we're all human, we overlook things. But as long as, I got taught a very good lesson when I was a young apprentice. I cut probably about $5,000 worth of timber, 100 mil short. Like it was, I've never felt more concerned for my own life. My boss was this really big Danish guy, and he was so intimidating. And I remember walking into his office, and he said to me, my nickname was Squeaky when I was an apprentice because I had a very high voice. And he said, Squeaky, you never judge a man by his mistakes. You judge him by the way he corrects them. So I think that's something like now we can really take on board. Now it's like, hey, maybe you weren't the best manager of your staff. Maybe you weren't the best leader. That was a mistake. No one's going to judge you, but now we're going to judge you on how you lead now in times of uncertainty, because leaders are, you'll see the leaders who are really, really good at leading during the best times. Like when your business is out in front, they're championing the business. But then when it goes to really bad times like now, when a lot of people are losing their businesses, and myself included, are headed in that direction. This is where leadership's needed, and this is where you may have made a mistake for 40 years whilst running your cleaning business, for example. But now's your opportunity to rectify 40 years of bad leadership in 4 days of really good leadership.
Yeah, I love that. And actually I saw that, or I was dealing with that 2 weeks ago with my 13-year-old son, because with all the online learning that they've been doing, they're responsible obviously for the output and for then submitting that work, right? And he struggles with sort of sticking to deadlines and understanding instructions and things like that. So I've been quite instrumental in being his teacher, I guess, at this time. But he was, I don't know, 4 days late in submitting something, and his attitude at that point was, oh, it's overdue, I don't need to worry about it. Whereas my attitude was, mate, regardless of whether it's overdue, you still need to do it and submit it. You still need to do it. And he couldn't understand why. And I said, because it's how you finish something, right, is what people are going to look at. If it's overdue, your teacher's not going to worry about why it was overdue or whatever. All they're going to see is that you didn't care if you don't submit it. You want to be seen to be...
Just showing the Stephen Bradbury clip.
Oh, I know, right? This is...
He's the worst ice skater ever. And he's a gold medalist because he just kept going no matter what. He was like, I'm just going to keep going. And then the whole competition fell over.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of life lessons, you know, there's a lot of things that we can be like, if he was at school and I was running the AFL club that I run and, you know, doing all the backwards and forwards of sport or whatever, I actually probably wouldn't have seen that because I wouldn't have been involved. But this has given me the space to be able to look at it and say, well, actually, no, you know, you need to get onto that. So, it's interesting, different situations.
Massive. I'm so obsessed with seeing, like, we live 300 meters down the road. We've got a really big green space, super fortunate to have it. And it's normally like a couple people maybe going for a run and a couple people walking their dogs. But if you drive past there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon now, A, everyone's following the guidelines and social distancing. But B, the most beautiful thing is there's families of 3 kids that are using socks to set up soccer fields and they're playing soccer. And I can probably guarantee you that they have never played soccer as a family before in their entire life. Or we've got, like I keep referencing, the dad that works in a corporate job or the mum that's working this corporate job from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day are finally teaching their kid how to ride a bike. Like, how many kids don't know how to ride bikes now because their parents are too busy?
Yeah, that's
there's so much hope and so much silver lining in a really terrible, terrible time. You know, any life lost is an absolute tragedy, and we're somewhere around the 50 mark, I think, from coronavirus here in Australia, like absolute tragedy. But when we look on the other side of the coin and we try focus on some positivity, because there's enough negativity out there, if this can be the channel for positivity and people go, oh yeah, like that's so true. The kids are learning skills that they never had. Like your son is learning to follow through, you know. And if you set yourself a goal, I got this from Glenn Azer a couple of days ago. And he said something along the lines of, and I'll probably butcher this on him and I apologize, but it's like, if you set yourself a goal and you don't follow through with it, you're showing yourself, it's strong wording from a very strong figure, like you're worthless. Like if you set these goals, you must follow through with them. And I think that's a really good lesson for us to learn right now. It doesn't make you worthless if you don't achieve it, but if you just don't follow through with it and don't even try, that's when we need to be retraining our brain. Like failing at something and giving it your best is a fantastic outcome. And all the power to you, but failing at something because it got a little bit hard and you're saying, this isn't, you know, what I want to be doing. That's where we need to be really honest with ourselves, set goals and follow through with them. Yeah,
absolutely. Totally agree. So 3 things that we can all do that can help this human connection movement that you have created. What are 3 things that we can all do to help really move this through the community?
Something I've really always struggled with in my entire life is the ask. So I'll give 3 things that you guys can do that would kind of by virtue be pushing human connection, but it's really leading into and spreading those 3 pillars, because this isn't 3 pillars I just wrote on the back of a napkin. This is 3 pillars we've come up with immersing ourselves in this problem of human disconnection. You know, leadership is, you know, to define leadership in a podcast is impossible. It's a definition that you create for yourself over a life's journey. Empathy is a really easy one. Like, just show empathy. Like, people are stocking up on toilet paper right now. Stupidest thing I've ever seen, but they're doing the best they can. You know, they're scared for their family. It's irrational, which what happens when we become vulnerable, we become irrational. And just show those people a little bit of empathy rather than going, you guys are the worst type of people in the absolute world. Like, hey, they don't know what's happening. They're scared. They're exposed. They're scared of their livelihoods. So that's empathy. And empowerment is an obvious one right now. Empower people to do, you know, to change their life. A lot of people talk about filling your cup before you fill others. I think that's a load of crap. I think we should be turning our cup into a bucket so we can fill many cups. And the way to turn your cup into a bucket is personal development. So I guess that's a good cheeky plug for us, is our course that we run. We've just launched the first intake, I'll call it, and we're going to be running these every 2 weeks. It's a 7-day course, an hour a day, and it just walks you through those fundamentals. It's called the Human Connection Fundamental Course, and it's exactly what the title would suggest. It talks us through conflict resolution, because the rise in domestic violence already is the most shameful thing I've ever seen as an Australian. Like, we've seen such a big spike in it because people are suddenly working with their spouse in the house all day. And me and my partner are both A, in the fitness industry, and B, have our own businesses. So we're around each other all day at the moment. And it's an opportunity for me to learn more about Sarah that I may not have known.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the coin, we're seeing, men and women become violent, and it's disgusting. So yeah, that's another thing that's in our course is conflict resolution. It talks about our 3 pillars. It talks about how to deepen bonds with family and community. And I guess the third thing, and cautious of time, the third thing is to set yourself a routine.
Yeah.
Now isn't the time to be having a blanket over your legs and sitting in your pajamas. Now is the time to be more professional than ever and keep yourself accountable. And routine for me, everyone has a morning routine. It's just whether it's productive or destructive for the day ahead. So we've got I can flick you this and you can pass out to your community if you want, Chris. It's an ebook that talks around human connection, but the simple elements of it is phase 1 is make your bed, and not for any other reason that you're putting a score on the board for yourself. So if we look at Matt's scoreboard, if I make my bed, I've got a score on my side's scoreboard already before I even start the day. I have a cold shower, not for the science. There's so much science out there, the benefit it does for your organs, which is phenomenal, and I highly recommend everyone read it. But it's a difficult situation that I can put myself in, that if I get through it, bang, another score on the board for me. I brain dump, which is an everyday Australian's way of saying journaling, because journaling for a lot of people is like, I don't want to journal. But if I brain dump, like I've got my little book here and I literally just write whatever's in my mind. It could not even make sense. I could draw pictures for all I care. I just need to get what's in here out. And then I have to do some sort of mindfulness or movement. And I think it's really important here to distill the difference between regimen and routine. Routine is a kind of a guideline. Regiment is, in the military, if you fall out of regiment, you've made a mistake. Like routine, if I don't feel like meditating, because meditating for me isn't something that I really enjoy, then I'll go for a run, and that's okay. Like, I don't have to beat myself up. So set a routine and keep yourself accountable to that routine. Is a really, really good one.
Yeah, totally agree. Great tips. And yes, I would absolutely love that downloadable. I think that'll be really valuable, just as something of a reminder that, just gives us that little bit of a push. I've been listening to some stuff just saying that the first 7 minutes of your day is the most important part of your day. So if the first 7 minutes of your day you get up and it's just about you setting yourself up for the day, because until you do that, it's like, it's that old analogy of putting on, your breathing mask first, right? Before you put it on your child. It's if you set yourself up and you can see yourself as having this highly successful, happy start to your day, then everything else just flows, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So I've been doing that. I do not get up and look at my phone until nearly 10 o'clock, unless I've got a meeting at 9, obviously. But it's not about looking at everybody else's agenda. It's about I get up, I have my shower, I then go and I sit still for 2 minutes, and I'm not great at meditation either, but I do love listening to forest sounds. And so I just put that on and, let everything just dump out of my head as well. I have my cup of tea, I have my breakfast, and then I'm ready to start my day,
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely good for your mental health, for your mind, the way that you perceive what you can do. So look, I think that's fantastic. So I'm just going to go back to sort of the website. So guys, I've done a quick run also through this course that Matt's put through, and it really is super helpful. I think it's quick, like it doesn't take up a lot of your time, but the tips and the things that it kind of ignites inside you to start looking at deeper. So I think that's sort of the idea of this is this course doesn't hold all the answers. This is basically injecting a little bit of structure into what you can then go deeper into and start to think about how you can change things, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what I love about it. So thank you for putting that together. Thank you so much for being with us here today. You know,
Thank you.
I think everyone's finding social media very busy at the moment. Everyone's starting up groups, everyone's doing live chats, everyone's, you know, whatever. And so my purpose in putting this together is just so that I can gain the information. If everybody else benefits from it as well, then that's a bonus. But you know, I'm doing this without expectation. I'm doing this without expectation that it's going to reach thousands of people. This is just how do we capture what it is that, you know, you're passionate about right now and bring that to more people. So if we can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much again. Always good to chat with
Thank
you.
you. Definitely. Absolutely.
Guys, if you've got questions, if you're watching this after we've gone live and you're looking at the replay of this, please post them into the comments. Matt is in this group, so he is able to respond to you if you have specific things that you want to talk about. Go visit his website, check out what he's got there. I really think human connection is the way forward for all of us, and we just need to get into it. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day.